Hello, everybody. My name is Adam, and I'm attempting to be the world's most prolific reviewer. My elbow is still broken. I'm going to go to the doctor on Friday, which is in a few days, to see. But I've been reading on the internet, and it seems a bit optimistic that I'll be able to take this off at least by next week because it's really like the elbow is uncomfortable and clearly there's something wrong with it and it like raises some pain or itchiness sometime, but this is the worst thing because I can't sleep with it, or I can sleep for like 2 or 3 hours and then I wake up and I remember I'm wearing a sling. Oh yeah, there are worse things in life, but it's not pleasant. All right, so today I'm reviewing the anime series from 2006 that some consider to be the best anime of all time, called Death Note. What do you think about it? Maybe watch until the end of my review and then give your ideas. So I think probably everybody knows the story of Death Note, but if you don't, basically it follows um, the life of Light Yagami. So he is a normal high school kid who comes upon this notebook and he thinks it's kind of a joke, but the notebook gives you the power to kill whoever you want as long as you write their name in this notebook, and there's different rules about the notebook that the anime explains. And so he starts to kill a lot of criminals, and then there's a task force which is designed to try and stop him. And his father is like leading the task force, and then like the anime takes place over about 6 years. So he graduates from high school, starts to be in the police, and because of his connection to his father, he is part of this task force that is going to try and stop this serial killer known as Kira, or killer in Japanese. And um, as this happens, he there's another kind of so in this task force, there's a detective named L who is trying to stop him. And I won't go too much more into the details of the plot, except to say that the character of Kira becomes more and more mythical, and he gets more and more support from different people all around Japan and around the world. And because basically he's killing criminals because he thinks it's going to make the world safer. And what did I think about it? I think that there are a few things that I didn't like, but for the most part, like 95%, I think it's really well done. And I would say it is probably one of the best anime I personally have ever watched. Um, and the reasons for that are like uh, generally it takes the story is told from the perspective of light, and you are brought along on this journey, and it's not really a hero's journey, it's the journey of a villain. And you're like looking at him, and you realize slowly that he is a serial killer, that he's just using this power that he has to justify his bloodlust because people start investigating him. And if he really had such moral virtues, he wouldn't be killing police officers who are investigating him, but he kills detectives, FBI agents, um, yeah, a lot of people. And I think there's one scene in particular where L, the detective who's chasing him, makes it appear that he's on television because he wants to test his theory about how Light is killing people or Kira is killing people. So he appears on television, or rather, somebody who is meant to be executed anyway appears on television and says that he is this detective, and Light kills him. So, like, clearly, and then you can say, and that's why it's good, because you don't know if this is just his personality, or is it his personality that is gotten more excessive because he has this magic notebook. And there are parts in the story where he actually forgets that he had the notebook, and he kind of regresses to his earlier personality. But I think that he definitely thinks that he's better than other people. He thinks that he's better than the women in his life. And it's just a very interesting character. And even though, like, it says it's horror, the genre of on Wikipedia says that it's horror anime. It's not that. It's not horror in the sense that you're thinking of, because there are these monsters called the gods of death, and they are connected to this notebook. That's where the notebook comes from, but they don't have much involvement in uh, in the story. It's actually the motivations of the people in the story that's more important. And it's kind of like they're genies, right? Like that you've got this bottle and you've unlocked the genie from the prison, and the genie's giving you this power, but he is actually also a slave to the power while he's in the human realm. So I liked the mystical aspects of it, and I think that the way that they drew these, I forgot what they're called, Shinogami or something. Basically, they're gods of death. The way they can fly and the way that they drew them is really great and grotesque, especially Riku. But they fly, and when angels fly, or like bipedal beings fly in animation or in cinema, it's often like they're very aerodynamic. But these, they just flop down, and the wings kind of like flap slowly, like a big hawk or a buzzard or something. So I think that's really well done animation wise. Another thing that they do, which is really great in the animation, is the characters, when they have, and probably it's from the manga, but when the the characters are like being very personal and they have like these intense moments, their character design changes. So Light, he turns red and he looks very devilish, and L turns blue. And but it's not just the main characters who do that. There's some other characters who do that in times of intensity. So it's just really good way to underline the fact that these things are happening. It's, I think, 37 episodes long, and I'm not sure, that's one season. I'm not sure why the season was so long, because there's clear arcs, like, what I'm not going to tell you about it, but there's clear arcs where one season could have started and another season could have begun. But if you have some time because you injured yourself rollerblading with your son, you'll have time to watch the whole thing. So, yeah, I did that. I watched the whole thing, and I did miss parts of it because I fell asleep, but that's because of my sleeping problems recently, not because of the anime. I think it is really well done. Um, Let me talk a little bit, because, and maybe I should stress this again before I go on to the negative things. I think it's really well done because it takes you on a journey, and you're seeing that the guy is a serial killer, right? And it's showing you that he doesn't really care about his friends, his family, and he's just manipulating them for his own needs. And at the end, when everything is going not his way, he's so quick to uh, tell people to kill other people, even though they're supposed to be friends. So it's kind of chilling, but it's very revelatory about his character. So the the criticisms I have are really, really minor. One thing I don't like is that there. So, Light is supposed to be this teenage genius, and he's basically like, for some reason he's like an X-Man, but he was living in a house for gifted detectives or something, and he is supposed to be the same age as Light is because they go to university uh, together. And yeah, um, I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, my elbow started hurting, and then I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so they're very, very young, and I really don't like that, and I don't understand. I think it's probably connected to the manga originally, which is like, these are probably, it was directed towards teenage boys, and you want to say, well, a teenage boy, if he's a genius, can be the best detective in the world, and this teenage boy can be. I think with Light, it makes a lot more sense because if everybody's been telling him he's a genius for so many years, he'll start to believe it and he'll start to treat people differently. So I think that makes sense for his character, but for the detectives, I'm not sure um, why they need to be the same age as Light, because L goes to university at the same time, and maybe I said that before, and if I did, I'm sorry, but yeah, he goes to university at the same time, and I might not have understood that well because that was one of the episodes where I fell asleep, but I think that um, you know, he's the same age as Light is, which is dumb, but it's not just a problem of this anime. There's lots of things where, you know, people just can't be really good at their jobs. They have to be prodigies or something. And it gets a little bit tiring because then it's sort of this fetishization. I said that word wrong, but I'm not going to try it again. Of the genius, right? So the only people who can stop crime are geniuses, and I don't think that is true. And the other thing that I think it works well in this anime, but there are a lot of these anime tropes. Like, Light eventually gets this girlfriend who's very dumb and has a high pitched voice, and she's very into Light because Light has killed her. Because he's Kira, so he's killed the people who killed her parents. So she says that she's going to love him and that he'll love her. And a lot of the reactions are kind of like very anime. Like, they have kind of a, I don't know how to describe this. I'm going to describe it as like a Naruto run kind of animation. They're not running anywhere, but like there's like lines to depict movement and stuff, and it's like completely unrealistic. But I think that it works. And the reason it works is because this story is being told, the story of how a guy became a serial killer is being told through this genre of like magical horror and anime. And it's using the tropes to tell that story. So I wasn't particularly um, I didn't mind it in this sense, whereas I did mind it in Attack on Titan. And I think the reason I didn't like it in Attack on Titan is because I didn't like the story so much. The story wasn't as engaging as this one is. Because this one is like, it's it's an investigation. Like, there's lots of violence and stuff, but it is an investigation story. It's like how the serial killer was caught, told from the perspective of a serial killer. So basically, it's a true crime thing, which I love, but connected to anime. So that's really, really great. And I don't know, I didn't really notice too much of this, but I did. There was one scene where they're in LA and then there's a black character who has a bit of a bigger nose than you would draw normally. But people have bigger noses. Black people have bigger noses than other black people. White people have bigger noses. So I thought that was fine. But then they showed on television, and it was one of those like caricatures of a black person that you can imagine. And I was like, what is the point of that? You know. And I know that anime, I guess, has a big problem with how to draw black people. Um, but there wasn't any point of drawing the person like that because it was literally, and I think probably because it was only like 20-second scene or something. That's why they didn't really care about that. And that led me to like an interesting thought, like which is following interesting for me anyway, is when you're watching anime, they don't look Japanese necessarily, but most of these characters, like, so the American characters, like the detectives, they're not, I don't think that they are Japanese. In fact, there's another a detective character later who, I forget what his name is, but his name is written down and it's clearly not Japanese, so he's like an American or English or something. And well, now that I think about it, they look weird. The detectives look weird because they're these prodigies and they have weird eyes and stuff, and they have weird mannerisms. But they're working with the FBI, and the FBI people look like completely normal, or maybe I just didn't pick up on the fact that they are drawing like Europeans in a stereotypical way as well, and they're drawing Japanese people as like normal. Yeah. All right. So I really liked this, and the problems with the story are really, really minor, in my opinion. And I think that if you haven't watched it, you would like it, especially if you're a fan of anime, but not only because the story is interesting. And there are mystical elements, but I think that the story is more about human psychology than anything else. All right. What did you think about Death Note? I'm really I kind of want to watch because they had a three live action movies. I think like two were Japanese and one was American. So I want to kind of see that how they adapted it because it is really Japanese. But what did you think about this story? Is it one of the best animes of all time? I think so, but do you agree? Maybe you really hate it. So put your thoughts in the comment section. I'm trying to get 150 subscribers by the end of January. I have 144, so I think that's completely possible. So like and subscribe if you like my stuff, and also if you're listening on Spotify, please follow. I have one follower, and Spotify tells me I should have at least 10. So let's get those numbers up, baby. Let's get them up to 10. Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody. Bye bye.